Hello. Hello. Is there anybody out there? Because it sure does seem like it's a ghost town when it comes to the real estate market here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. There's so much talk about the neighbor's home that's sitting on the market for months now. Is there anybody that's ever going to come look at my home? That's what sellers are asking themselves. That's what we are looking at here. And the buyers saying, oh my gosh, there's so many opportunities out there like I have never seen anywhere before, but I still don't want to pull that trigger. So what is going on, guys? What's happening? That's what we're going to talk about today. I also want to review a fabulous article that came out in the Dallas Morning News and with some research from some of our local professors that give us a further explanation on what is happening and when can we see this possibly flip around and change. That's what we're talking about today. I'm Kallie, the broker owner over at Ritchie Realty. And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. If this is your repeat offender, welcome back. But we always are putting out content because we want to help everybody become the very best of the best when it comes to buying, selling, or investing. Now, all right, let's get to this because I mentioned we're going to talk about the Dallas Morning News article that gives some insight, some theory on what's been happening. But nonetheless, I want to start with a quick update on what's happening in our local market here, looking at the four major counties, Dallas, Fort Worth, Collin, and Denton counties. There are so many more counties and so many more cities and everything else out there, but we're going to just stay like really focused on these four. As you can see here, and what I'm sharing, look on the left here. These are our home prices from January, the median sales price from January through where we are today in July. What you'll notice, and in some of my previous conversations or meetings or market updates, we always see there's a bell curve, and we usually see a spike in the median sales price, usually between May, June, maybe July if it's really late. But what we saw this year was an early spike all the way in April. From April, May, and June, the median sales price remained flat. It was $415, flat. We didn't see it go up anymore. We saw an early spike. What's going to happen in July? We're going to talk a little bit about that. Nonetheless, we can see from, I'm going to go straight to here because I think this is what I really want for people to realize is that from January of this year till June, we've seen a positive, an upward movement in prices from 389 to 415. That's a 6.3% change on an upward basis looking at those sales price. Now, if we look year over year, right, from June last year to this year, we can see that they have dropped a little bit, $5,000, 1.2%. Is that a big concern? You know what, in the grand scheme, I hope you've been tuning in because I'm not too concerned about that because I know they'll just rebound. It's like this, right? What we do want to focus on to give us some insight of, could that come down further? It very well could. Let's talk a little bit about where I'm getting my information from. Now, actually, it's straight from the MLS, but nonetheless, let's look at what is happening with our days on market. Our days to get a contract have gone from 40 to 52. In some market areas, it's even more. Nonetheless, that's a 23% change year over year from how long it takes. Now, hear me say this. If you are thinking about selling your home, don't think it takes 52 days. You really need to give yourself 30 days after that, so more like 82, 85 days, because it takes another 30 days for us to close out once we go into contract. Our month supply of inventory, we've also seen that rise from 2 months supply to really about 3.8 months, and in some areas all the way up to 4.6. Guys, this is significant. Hear me say this. We have not seen an increase like this in our month supply of inventory in 12 years, since 2012. So this is pretty significant. Now, hear me say this too. It is still technically a seller's market, believe it or not, because it's not balanced until we're at about 6 months supply of inventory. Just thought I'd throw that out there real quick for you guys. Back to things. Nonetheless, we are seeing our number of sales. These things are significant here. Our number of sales are down by about 2,000 sales over the year. That's a 9.6% change. And in some areas, it's about 12%. And our active listings have shot up from 26,000 to over 34,000 active listings. That's about a 25% change. It is the fact that we have less people buying, more homes listing that has led to an increase in our month supply of inventory and in the days on market. That's the truth. Now, I want to go straight into what where do we think we're going? Where do we think we're headed? And I'm going to share one real quick thing here. And this is our showing report from one of our showing institutes. Now, this only takes into one consideration one county, but nonetheless, you can see here a drop in showings. Showings are our leading indicators, and this is the showings in the July, which hopefully could tell us what's going to happen for when we close out our sales for July. The fact that we have less people looking at homes, as you can see in this report, the fact that we have less showings, guess what's going to happen? We're going to continue to have less sales. We're going to continue to increase our inventory unless people just stop listing their house. We're going to continue to see more inventory. We could also possibly see more days on market and more month supply of inventory and possibly a change in the median sales price. Stay tuned next month and we'll take a look and see what happens. Nonetheless, I said, let's roll out the information about this article that came out in the Dallas Morning News, because guys, I think this is huge. If you probably saw me about a month ago, I was asking asking all of y'all on Facebook, what's happening in our market? Somebody please give me an answer, because I know we've got an election year. I know we've got higher interest rates. And yes, I know when we get to, believe it or not, when we get to 7% interest rates, we see a less demand for buyers out there. We have a weaker demand. I get all of that, but I wanted to get the consumers' take on that, because we're not necessarily seeing that in all of the market areas. Nonetheless, I think this article really gives us a great theory and insight to what's happening. So let's take a look at it. They actually took into consideration not just the 4 counties that I look at, but all the different counties that are in North Texas. And as you can see, when we take it as a whole, okay, we are looking at 11, see where it says North Texas, 11.6% less sales, okay, year over year. And we're also seeing over 44% more inventory. So they're seeing it across the board. God, think about that, 44% more inventory. That is big. That's huge. So let's take a look at, well, why here's the question. This is not from Kallie. This is from the Dallas Morning News. It says, why haven't prices dropped yet? And why aren't more homes being sold? So we got a little real estate guru, finance professor over at the University of Texas at Arlington, who says that the supply bump may be driven partially by sellers putting higher priced homes on the market. Those houses are out of reach for buyers looking for homes below the region's median sales price. Remember that median sales price, we were like at 415, right? The more expensive homes aren't selling, the ones up here, which drives up that month supply of housing inventory. There are not enough homes in DFW below that median price. So here's his quote. I'm not talking about McMansions. These are homes above the median sales price, he said. That's simply just magnifying all of the supply out there, but it's the wrong supply, guys. This is not supply that improves affordability. It's meaningless at this point. Think about that. The homes that are sitting on the market driving up our month supply of inventory is the wrong inventory, because there's not the demand for it. The demand is for what's under the median sales price. And we don't have enough homes on the market to support the demand of median sales price. So it's possible what we're going to see is those homes under the median sales price maintain their prices, whereas the other ones on the top might start coming down. And that's why we're not seeing a lot of price drops in the median sales price. Let's talk about this going a little bit further. It says, I said rates are definitely having an impact. So this further supports. Among the major factors affecting home sales are interest rates. From mid-April through much of May, the average 30-year mortgage rate was above 7%, symbolic threshold that threatens the housing market activity. Rates have hovered around that market through June and July. For the week of July 11th, the rates came down 6.89. Those high rates have kept buyers held back, and the spring selling season has come to a close, said Ted Wilson with the Dallas-based housing analyst residential strategies. All right, just a few more things I want to point out here. When are we going to see it improve? When is it going to get better? Remember what I said, when we hit And in one of my previous graphs, I said, when we get to 7% interest rates, we have a weak demand. We're not going to start seeing a good demand until we get, look at this, 6.5. For the market to improve, Wilson said, rates need to drop towards 6.5 range. And he goes further along to say some other things, but let's look at this. Affordability is a big issue right now. The pent-up demand we saw in the spring really seems to not be as strong now. That's what we're seeing. There's a rate sensitivity. It's great to see more inventory on the market, but it's so darn expensive. So it's unclear when the long-awaited rate cut will come. We've been hearing the Feds talk about that for months, since the beginning of the year. We were supposed to have already had like 2 rate drops, but we haven't. The Federal Reserve policymakers anticipate only 1 cut in 2024, but 4 cuts in 2025. Wilson and Landon both mentioned that uncertainty about the economy and that upcoming presidential election, remember, are key factors that could influence these rates. Everybody's trying to digest it right now, but yeah, there's all these questions out there, Wilson said. And I think when you have a lot of unknown and uncertainty, it really does not help those types of purchase making decisions. So there you go, guys. When is it going to change? Well, I think it's going to change. Absolutely will change. Very possible it's going to change pretty soon. But do I see a change in all of these other data points that I'm looking at? It's going to continue to either stay flat, or we're going to see it push a little bit downwards until we see that change in the interest rates and possibly after the election, after the presidential election. So hang tight, because there's a lot of uncertainty. And when people are uncertain, uncertainty brings to basically immobility, because we don't know what to do. Well, hopefully this gives you some insight of what to do. Here's what I want to wrap up saying. For those of you that are waiting for all of this stuff to happen, you're just like everybody else that's waiting out there as well. Okay. And what's going to happen when that corrects itself, when the interest rates come down and the election's over? Well, you think about that one. You might be in the rat race with everybody else. So if you need some more information, need help strategizing, you know how to get in touch with me. Comment below. I'll answer your questions. Hit me up on the bat line. Other than that, I'll see you next month as we identify what's going to happen in August, where we headed to, and what happened in July. Take care until then.